Hey team, welcome back to another great episode of the Intentional Agribusiness Leader Podcast. This is your host, Mark Jewell, and today I'm on with Daniel Stevens. He is with TIMAC Agro, and the second person we've had on from this company. I've been learning more and more about these guys as we get to know him, and earlier we had Michael Piscata on the show, and that was a great one early on. Go back to the first, I think, 10 episodes and look that one up. Daniel's on here today. Daniel, welcome to the show, man. Super
Mark,
glad to have you.
Thanks for the opportunity.
Yeah, man. Cool. Hey, you get the same opening question that we all do. What does it mean for you? What's it mean for you to be intentional?
Well, for me, being intentional means that you need an open, clear communication with your team. So you're not really, you're clear on what your direction is and try to create a vision to where everybody understands. And I've always said that, when you're being an intentional and a good leader, you oftentimes have people that you're surrounded by that will carry your same thoughts and be able to make the same decisions you do. And collectively as a team, with the key term being team, is you got to place people around you that you guys can all bounce ideas off of. I've been fortunate enough in this industry to meet some very, very good leaders. A lot of them you've had on your podcast previously, and a lot of those guys I run through scenarios with them. If I need their opinion, I'll pick up the phone and call. There's an open line of communication. We all want each other to succeed. In some ways we're competitors, and then we're also allies. Some are on our team here at TIMAC. Some are customers. Some are competitors, like I said. But we all work together in a functional unit because this industry is hard enough, on its own without us trying to create a harder path for ourselves. So for being intentional, that's kind of what it means to me. Is it comes down to communication and working together and never having a stranger, really. Never meeting a stranger.
Yeah. I love it, man. One of my favorite things about this industry has been the level of intention that I've experienced and that I've been the benefactor of some of the very generous, intentional leaders that are out there that want to see you succeed, that want to see you go to the next level, that want to help you out. I've often found some of the most successful people are also the most accessible in terms of they're willing to lend advice.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, we all started this industry young and green and didn't really know anything. And I think you put yourself in the right position with a lot of these leaders, lead the industry, people that I rely on for their opinion, and I trust their opinion. And I was fortunate enough early on to have a lot of these guys take me under the wing and show me what right looks like. And they've been a help, lifelong friends of the industry. And I think that's important because it is hard, especially, and it's getting harder for younger people to enter this industry and to be shown what exactly right looks like. I talk to my team all the time. We have a lot of these younger guys coming in or gals coming in out of college, and they expect this high salary, and they look at some of these older guys that's been here forever, and they say, well, this is the easiest industry. You just create a book of business and it's smooth sailing. But they don't understand the 20 years of work that's going into developing relationships and
so true.
The hard work that they put in. And that's just not something you walk into. Trust me. I've had people that I thought that could walk into that situation and they don't. So that's a key part.
Yeah. Well, the same happens for me on the entrepreneurial side, being a business owner and having been a business owner for the last decade and a half. One of the pieces of advice that I've picked up along the way that I've heard different people share that I also frankly wanted to ignore because I didn't want it to be true for me was it takes, you have to work harder than you think you're going to have to work, and it takes longer than you think it's going to take. And I've tried to ignore that. I've taken every possible shortcut trying to get to where I'm going. And every time I do, I end up flat on my butt.
and there is such a thing as sprinkling in a little bit of luck along the way. That goes a long ways too.
Exactly.
Being in the right place at the right time. I can say I've been there several times.
Absolutely. Well, and when you put in that work, right? When you're intentional about what you're creating and you learn the things you got to learn, you have the conversations, you take the licks. It's funny how being prepared at the intersection of opportunity just shows up looking a lot like luck.
That's right.
Good.
Yeah.
Well, Daniel, tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, TIMAC. Give us the high level overview on those things.
So yeah, my background at TIMAC, I've been with the company 9 years. Previously to that, I was with a forage export company out of Fresno, California. Um, I've enjoyed. I basically grew up in agriculture, been in it or around it all my life. At one point in time, I remember when I was younger, and I was in a tobacco field. I wanted to do all I could to get out of the industry, but I kept finding my way back into the industry somehow. Either it be on the animal side with swine production, or even on the crop nutritional side. Always found a way to get back in it. Can't get away from it. So been with TMAC for 9 years. Started out in North Carolina as the regional sales manager here. Came in and think we did a lot. Formed a team, built a team here in North Carolina. Expanded to Virginia and the Carolinas as being the business unit director there. Then I was approached by an opportunity within the company to take on more of a national role, what we call at TMAC as a chief sales officer role. Basically, anything that encompasses, at that point in time, we had 5 or actually 7 different business units that we directly manage. We have business unit directors that was responsible for every business unit, and we just helped develop customer contacts, get a game plan on customers and execute that plan. And meanwhile, building a good sales team on the ground to support our products, because that's key, right? TMAC does manufacture a lot of biologicals, a lot of value add type products that doesn't necessarily just sit on a shelf and people come in and they call them by name and want them. It's up to us to go out and create that demand and get, it's an education piece, and that's what we focus on here at TMAC. I lost you, Mark. I'm not hearing you.
You guys have got you've got a really good team out there that are doing a great job of education.
And we're building every day. It seems like we have folks wanting to join our team, and some really, especially the last couple of years, we've really gotten some really good talent on the team. And it just says a lot about our leadership here at TMAC about, people want to join the winning team. And I think that says a lot to the guys that we have out representing the company and doing great things.
Good. Awesome. Well, you mentioned something early on. I think this is a distinctly Southern type of language, and I want to dive into it because I live in the South now, but I'm not from here. And the statement was this: it was as we think about young people coming into the industry, coming into work with a company like TMAC, helping them understand what does right look like.
Well, I guess you look at it. I think what right looks like is you ask some of the guys that've been in the industry for a long time what their greatest mistake was early on in life. I think that's what wrong looks like. And I think in order for you to know what right looks like is you got to experience a lot of wrongs, and you got to make mistakes. And if you've been in a management or leadership role ever and have not made any mistakes, you're a unicorn in this industry. And there's mistakes to be made. And right looks like, just carrying out yourself, being honest, being truthful with your customers. I preach all the time, being completely transparent with our employees and our customers, because nothing will come back and really hurt you in the end as telling something inaccurate or trying to bend the truth. It's always best to get it out up front, and that way everybody knows your intentions.
Right. How do you think, and I don't know that there's a perfect answer for this, but I'm curious about your opinion. How do we get that into the culture? Right. We are hardwired to in many ways to kind of hide when things go wrong or aren't exactly stacking up the way that we had it going in our mind or the way that we had promised, right?
Yeah.
How do you create that open, transparent, honest conversation in a way that's like we normalize it as opposed to people hiding from what's going on?
Well, I'll tell you a story, and this is my own personal experience. But I remember when I was a young kid. My dad was always out doing stuff, building things or whatever. And I remember, we believed in spankings growing up in the household, and
Mm-hmm.
my parents never beat me or anything, or I was never abused, but lessons were learned.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I remember one time my dad he had lost his carpentry pencil, and I had actually gotten it and I had broken it, and I didn't know it at the time, but I was burying it so he couldn't find it because I broke his pencil. He was meanwhile watching me from afar, So and
Mm.
one of the worst spankings I ever got was because of that particular situation. So, and he gave me every opportunity to be honest with him, for me to tell him what happened to the pencil, but I never did. So that was a very important lesson early on. I learned
Yeah.
that no matter how bad the outcome, I mean, it can always be worth it if you're not truthful. So don't
Yeah.
hide from it. Embrace it. What's going to happen is going to happen. And I think that's my mindset. That's always been
Mm.
my mindset. Bad news doesn't necessarily get better with time either. So it's best to just rip the Band-Aid off and deal with it.
Yep.
And it's never really been as bad as you ever think in your mind. The repercussions for telling the truth, you're always, you feel bad about it. You're really kind of just dreading the outcome. But it's always better than what you really envision in your mind. So we
Yeah.
create a lot of our own monsters, if you will.
It's so true, man. I recently heard a sermon somewhere online of this pastor talking about whenever Adam and Eve took the bite of the fruit, right, ate of the knowledge of the tree of good and evil, and they when God comes to the garden that night, right, later on looking for him, right, what did Adam do?
Oh
He
yeah.
hid. He hid, right? He's hiding. He's like, I don't, now I'm embarrassed. I'm covering up, right? We're we're uh, sewing clothes out of fig leaves, right? And in hiding ourselves, whereas before they were just free as can be. You know what I'm saying? And I thought, wow, that's so interesting, because I've
When
had my
God
own
was my
lesson.
dad, on the back porch watching him bury the pencil.
Exactly. Yeah, like God already knew what they'd done, right? He's asking, and just like your dad, giving them every opportunity. How intentional, cool, by the way, how intentional of your dad to give you the opportunity to just like let you sweat it out, man.
Oh yeah, and that's nothing's worse than sitting and trying to and knowing at the end that he knew I was lying.
Mm-hmm.
And all that came to fruition in a matter of like 5 minutes, and I was
Yeah.
like, wow. Could have gotten out of it without a spanking. How to just
Yeah,
I
just come
broke it.
clean. Just
Yeah.
come clean. No, so we have a framework that we teach in our Thriving Leader program called the Story Framework, and it's based off of the experience that people have, which is the story that they get stuck in when they're avoiding doing the thing that would make their life better,
That's right.
right? Or the story that I get stuck in when maybe there's somebody at work who's just always, I don't know, maybe there's friction, right? There's friction between me and that person or me and that customer. We all have a customer that we're not super excited about whenever their phone number is coming up on the cell phone, right?
Sure.
We have a story about that. And we've all had situations where we had to maybe go address something that we screwed up, right? I don't know, the wrong field got sprayed or it got done wrong or it didn't get done on time or you didn't get the product, it didn't get shipped in on time and now it's going to be late or whatever, right?
Yeah.
There's all kinds of things. And so we avoid sometimes, I mean, our for a lot of us, our nature, just because it is built into humanity, that's why I cite the story from the beginning of the book of Genesis, right? But it's like we tend to hide, and the longer we hide, the worse it gets, and the longer we hide, and it compounds with interest, the waiting, and
Yeah.
it's yeah.
Yeah, and you make a good point. And I think as a society, we are terrified to fail. or we're terrified to really let our management team down.
Mm-hmm.
And I think acknowledging your mistakes, and that's why it's always important to build that core group of guys around you or a team around you, so that if you do make a mistake, hey, talk to them about it and just open up and get through it, and talking with people, about a mistake you may have had, is very helpful, what you end up doing is you create an environment to where everybody's honest with each other and everybody starts holding each other accountable for certain things. And whenever I have people on my team now, and I'm considered their boss, but they talk to me like we're more friends. I mean, if I'm messing up, they'll tell me, or if maybe I'm hard headed and I say this is the way it needs to be. If they have a very valid point and explanation for the reason why they disagree with me, I'm all ears, because I think it does take everybody, a lot of different opinions coming together to make the right decision moving forward.
Yeah. Yeah. Good stuff, man. Whew. So we go through these times, as leaders, I think, and you brought this up, where we're afraid to fail. We're hiding from the failure. We don't want to. And I love what you're talking about having that open, transparent, capability with your team to get the feedback. That's that's a sign of an intentional leader who's open, who's aware, who's willing to receive new feedback. Maybe, and not all feedback has to change everything. Sometimes I take that feedback and say, okay, well, we're still doing this anyway.
Sometimes that's what happens.
I watched the referee at my daughter's volleyball game last night, taking it from both teams at different times with an opinion about what he should be calling or shouldn't be calling, and it's like, and he just points. He's like, it's going this way, So we got to be able to, you got to be able to stand in the pocket, take the heat, right? And be able to make a decision and move forward. But, for those people that maybe struggle a little bit with the opinions of others, right? Let's be honest, like we all struggle with that people pleasing tendency. So what, I shouldn't say we all do, but many of us, still struggle with being people pleasers. What advice do you have for somebody who just is, maybe you're getting opinions from your customer, opinions from your boss, opinions from your agronomist, right? And all these things coming into one place. How do you stand in the pocket and take the heat?
I got two things for this. One thing I'm going to start. I got a lot of friends that are UGA fans, and I may not be a UGA fan. I pull for them when they're not playing anybody that I know of. But Kirby Smart, he has a thing about leadership, and he was talking. I seen him on an interview or something the other day, and he said, all leaders are going to eventually have to make a decision that will negatively impact the people they care about. All leaders will have to do that. And I think that's important because you do. We do that every day. I think that something, number two is you should remember is no matter if it negatively impacts somebody you care about, if you sit down with that person and communicate the reason why you made that decision, and the reason why it may impact that one person negatively, but it may be for the overall good for the broader audience of the company. I think once and that happens to me probably 3 or 4 times at least a year on making a decision. And we have hierarchy at the company. Some people are more focused on more of a regional level. Some people are more of a national level, and you can't say, it's very difficult to satisfy both layers, because if you have a guy that's looking after, say, 5 counties in Alabama, that person cares about those 5 counties in Alabama. He doesn't necessarily care about every county in Tennessee. He just wants to focus on what and getting them outside of that mindset, and just really just educating them on put yourself in the other person's shoes type mentality. I think that helps a lot. And hopefully they'll see it your way. If you don't, then sometimes you do have to just agree to disagree at the end of the day. And they have to trust you and your leadership. And hopefully that's not the first time that you've ever, shown your leadership abilities with them. Maybe they do trust your past decisions that you made, that they have seen the outcome of it. And they just trust your instinct and trust your opinion.
Yeah. I think that's where clarity and vision, being able as a leader, being able to intentionally curate and cast the vision
Hmm.
and get your people to buy into it.
That's right.
And even when we're making some decisions, we're like, there's some batch crazy kind of ideas that Mark's coming up with today, but I see where we're going, and if that's part of it, cool. I'll go along with it.
Yeah.
Like sometimes that's all we need.
Yeah. No doubt.
So yeah, we've had you're the third one I've had on the show from TMAC. We've had Michael Pashada, we've had Christy Apple,
Okay. Yeah.
and now you guys have some. I mean, just from the folks that I've met so far, really cool people working there. What's TMAC doing to create this culture that's attracting great talent?
So it is a culture, and we try to create a atmosphere to where people can have fun doing what they do. Because I think we've all been in industries or either in a position at one point in time to where your boss was a micromanager. You had to just grind. You had to grind day in and day out.
Yeah.
And I think making your job and your roles fun, have fun experiences, celebrate your wins together. I think that's one of the biggest things about creating that culture here at TMAC. If nobody's having fun with their job and being purposeful at TMAC, I don't think TMAC's the place for them to be. And we try to do the best we can to create that atmosphere. At the end of the day, it is a job. It's always going to be a job.
Mm-hmm.
And in the industry, the ag industry is tough. I mean, over the last couple of years, it's been a tough industry. It is, and you have to have the stomach for it. You have to be able to let things roll off your back, and you got to always look for tomorrow. Just like with this year, fertilizer commodity prices, whatever, it's not been where we want it. It's not been ideal, but it has been within the last 5 years, and it probably will be within the next 5 years. So those cycles are coming around, and I think giving everybody hope and some direction, and focusing in them in the right area, and just making them feel a part of a team and a part of
Mm-hmm.
something bigger. And I think that's the culture we create at TMAC, and that's really let's be honest. I mean, there's a lot of competition out there that are constantly coming after our guys, whatever, trying to poach. And I think what keeps them here is you can't put a price tag on it. And it's relationships, is people texting you out of the blue saying happy birthday, something that doesn't necessarily happen with these bigger corporations. And you're
Sure.
part of a family, really. And that's the atmosphere we try to create.
I love it, man. I love it. What is there anything specific that you guys are doing to, whether it's celebrate the wins or make people feel part of a team? I mean, you mentioned, texting on birthdays and stuff like that, which is great. Those are cool. Any other practical, tactical stuff that we can
Oh
implement?
yeah, I mean we do. I mean, there's a number of things. We attend ball games together. We'll do that because especially in the South, how everybody's football oriented.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody likes a good college football game. We'll go to ball games together. We'll do. We actually out in the Midwest. I think it was last year. We did the escape room with a group
Mm-hmm.
of guys. That was pretty fun. Um, you know, uh, Anything. I mean, really, some of our guys get together, on the weekends, and they may have a cookout. Especially here in North Carolina. North Carolina barbecue is the thing. But it's just a matter of just getting together, and we'll have, going back to football. On a Saturday, we'll have a group text of 3 or 4 people going back and forth. Talking junk to each other, and that's what it's about. It's about you want to put yourself in the position to where if I left TMAC, I would be letting down one of my teammates, and I think that's the environment that we hopefully have established.
Yeah. That's really key, man. When you can create that space within which I care as much or more about the relationships that I built and the people that I support, where that extra 10 or 15K doesn't really get someone's attention.
That's right.
Like you're maybe only losing people to either the ones that you want to, the ones that just naturally are going to, 10% a year or so turnovers good. Like that's
Mhm.
healthy. We should be losing a few to retirement and other reasons. And then
That's right.
maybe people are taking opportunities because they need, they're looking for that next level leadership opportunity, moving up to a larger organization or becoming a CEO or something like that. Right. But I mean, so we're going to have some natural stuff, but really being able to keep people because they just like being a part of this crew. Like that's,
Mhm.
I'm not a fan of calling companies families, right? But that's like the next best thing.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
And we do, hurricane coming through recently.
Yeah.
We have some old employees down in Florida that are no longer part of TIMAC. Um, I reached out, checked on them,
Mhm.
make sure everything's good. Do they need anything or whatever? I mean, it's a relationship you carry on forever. But yeah, I mean, yeah, it's not really a family, like you
Right.
said, but it's the next best thing.
Yep. The reason I shy away from using the word family as it pertains to business is that you can't fire your family.
Yeah.
Right?
Very true, and I
You know,
probably have, and you probably do too. Some family members that I don't value as much as some of my coworkers.
so true. And not trying to make fun of it. Firing people sucks, and it's not something any of us
Oh
ever
yeah,
wants to have to go through on either end of that conversation. And at the same point, I mean, when I mean, a business has got at certain points has to be able to protect itself,
hmm
right, and do things, and that's like, I mean, you can try to minimize contact, right, with your cousin that that just wants you to go drinking all the time. You know what I'm saying? But it's at the end of the day, they're still your cousin, man.
right. Carry the same genetics at some point.
That's right. That's right. So cool. What any books, resources, podcasts, anything like that you listen to when you're driving up and down the road?
So I remember getting into, when leadership became a thing, when all these corporations and stuff started migrating to the leadership.
Mm-hmm.
I think one of the pioneers was Jocko Willing
Yep.
with the extreme ownership. I have actually, I have, I think every one of his books probably,
Mm-hmm.
and I also am part of his podcast, which or not part of it, but I follow it. And it doesn't necessarily always talk about leadership, but it's also like, I forget the name of it, but it's the war stories you go through and
Mm-hmm.
talks about different war stories and how it relates to corporations and everything. And I think that's really cool. But I am an avid fisherman, so I'm not afraid to admit I do listen to a lot of fishing podcasts too. So,
All right.
and there's just not enough time to go around for podcasts for everything you do and are interested in. So I try to make
Yeah.
time for each. But I just put it on the on the auto play and just play. I do a lot of driving, so that's normally my podcast time.
That's good. That's good, man. What are the main, like, what's one of the fishing podcasts? I'm always curious.
So there's one actually I'm wearing it. So it's a speckled truth.
Okay.
I'm a speckled trout enthusiast. I really like tournament fishing for speckled trout, and I follow them. They're all about conservation, and even in North Carolina, I don't know if you fish or anything, but there's a
Mhm.
bunch of conservation things, topics that are coming up in North Carolina about protecting our fisheries and managing the fisheries. So I don't know. We kind of speak the same language, and
Mhm.
you can get lost in it going down the road and forget where you're at. So
Sure thing.
it's easy to do.
Sure thing, man.
Yeah.
Sure thing. No, what's interesting about it is I think more people need to have something that lets their brain relax just a little bit, right? Like I mean,
Yeah.
I'm into the business podcast and I listen to multiple sermons every week, motivational music that fits like when I'm working out and podcasts and so forth. I've got a host. Actually, if you guys go to your app store and download the Thrive Today app,
Okay.
go under the pancake menu on the lower right, and you go to the backside. There's a list of, we actually have every podcast that I listen to regularly is actually, you can stream it right through our Thrive Today app. So everything's in one place. So you can just get it all right there, which is cool. But it's in all of your app stores, Apple App Store, Google Play, etc. But what you won't see in there is probably like the sci-fi book that I listen to on
Yeah.
Audible, right? When I'm like, maybe I can't go to sleep. My mind is busy. So I'll put that in. Or it's just the end of a big day and now you got to go drive and pick up kids. Sometimes I'll pop that on for half hour or an hour while I'm in the truck and just listen to something that lets me kind of disconnect from everything a little, just let my mind, my brain relaxes. And then what I find is I'm bouncing back faster. So the more I do that practice and it's become more regular lately, I'm finding like more plasticity in my brain, for the remainder of the day. So, try something like that, fishing,
Well, you got to
hunting.
have you got to have an escape of some sort, and I think escaping with nature at some point, whether you're a big hunter, fisher,
Yeah,
whatever, just being part of nature and just there's a lot out there that it offers. If you just, I mean, you got to see it with your own eyes and take in whatever that means to you,
for sure.
and don't make it about anybody else. Just make it about you and your personal reset. I think that's important. Is very important. I've got two
Hmm.
small children and a wife and a family and everything, and it's you got to take that reset. You gotta have some me time. Don't never neglect your me time because it is important.
Yep.
But it's as important as family time, and I think even my
Yep.
wife would agree.
Could not agree more. Could not agree more. Fun fact, since you brought up the fishing thing, so I actually grew up in the fishing bait industry,
Wow.
live bait. Yes, sir. That is a fact. My an FFA, my supervised agricultural experience, was based off of my leech trapping business.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
So
which
that is a Midwest thing because we
it's a
don't
very
fish with
Midwest thing.
many, fishing with
Yep,
leeches.
yep. 16,000 pounds of leeches that we would
Oh
trap,
wow.
or
So
or buy.
what do you catch with leeches? What's the preferred?
Walleye is the big one. You can catch
Okay.
anything with them. Yeah, you can catch anything with them. Fish love it, but walleye is the big thing in the upper Midwest.
Oh, awesome.
So
Very neat.
fun fact. Everything I learned about ag was acquired on the side because that was the family business, right? Like that was our bread and butter. So then I would work on all the local farms, dairy farms, picking rock, baling hay, milking cows. Worked on a big dairy throughout my high school, my last 2 years of high school, doing whatever needed to be done. I'd get out of school early and go work there. So I picked up all that. My firsthand ag knowledge was not because I grew up on a corn and bean operation or anything like that. I got fell in love with the industry, did that, and then went and got my degree in ag ed. So,
That's pretty neat. So
mhm.
what does a leech farm look like? Is it the same way as they grow minnows and stuff? I'm assuming there's
Very
different
similar. Yep,
sizes.
very similar. Yeah, you will. We start trapping as soon as the ice goes out in
Okay.
the spring. Okay, and then early in the spring they shrink over the winter, so they get a lot smaller. And so we'll take anything that's not big enough to sell. We immediately put back into a stock pond. It's about a 2 acre pond, and then we would. I don't know if this is legal now, so probably shouldn't even put this on the internet. But I think that hopefully the statute of limitations is beyond. So Dad would go over to the ethanol plant about 20 miles away, and pick up just the wasted DDGs that would fall onto the ground when they're loading trucks and stuff like that, or whatever. And we would take and we would just dump tons of DDGs into the pond, and the microorganisms in the water, as the water would heat up, the microorganisms would digest those DDGs. The leeches would eat that. And you can take a small leech and turn it into a jumbo leech in about 2 weeks.
Oh wow.
And then we're just constantly trapping the pond every day.
So you can grow anything.
You can grow anything. If you can grow a leech, man, you can grow anything.
Man, that is pretty neat. I didn't even know that type of thing existed, and I bet I'm the first person that brought that out of you here on the.
This is, yeah. I think you're about episode 96 or something like that, and I think this is the first time it's come up on the show. So,
Wow.
but it's when you bring up the importance of getting outside, being in nature. I don't care if you grew up in a John Deere, in a combine, in a red tractor. You're out there in the field. I was out there in a leach boat.
Mhm.
We're all out there in nature. We're all there. We're all outside. And
Yeah,
often now we live these lives that are sort of devoid of that connection to the thing that got us to be in love with this whole thing in the first place.
that's right. And a lot of times, I mean, a lot of people, they work really hard, and they put in 60, 70 hours a week I mean, you gotta reset from that. I mean,
Yeah.
if your reset is watching college football on Saturdays or whatever, just you gotta do that. You gotta step back and reset so you are 100%. Because a lot of these guys that are working 60, 70 hours a week, they're not 100%. Focused that whole week, and I don't know. I think you're digging yourself into an early grave.
Hmm.
If you're not happy, if you're not after the 100%, I think that's just detriment.
I agree, man. I agree. Well, Daniel, it's been a great conversation. I think we got some really good stuff up front on team building and culture building and what it looks like to get some of your people started off right in their career. We wound into some personal stuff here at the tail end, and I think we just put a really nice bow on it. So
Good,
that's really good, man. Thanks.
Mark.
Thanks.
I appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah,
Definitely stay in touch.
absolutely, absolutely. Thanks for being on the show.